is on Order 6, Rule 4. That's privilege. Mr. Speaker, it is a tried law that in a democratic setup, legislators have certain powers and privilege that is accorded to them so that they can function properly. Mr. Speaker, if we recall that this House passed a resolution against some utterances or alleged utterances made by the acting president. Mr. Speaker, we have seen a repeat performance, which is very, very essential for this House to take a look. Otherwise, it will certainly undermine our democracy. I and some of my colleagues here, we happen to be members that sat down and passed the budget of 2017. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, you can have a look at Daily Trust publication of Wednesday, June 14, 2017, at page 3. With your permission, kind permission, Mr. Speaker, I would like to read a certain portion of it. The acting president, Yemi Osibanjo, yesterday said the National Assembly has no right to introduce new projects or modify those contained in an appropriation bill. Osibanjo said executive was disappointed in the legislator for delaying the passage of the 2017 appropriation bill, which he signed on Monday. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this issue was reported in Daily Trust, the leadership of 14th June 2017, and also Daily Sun of Wednesday, June 14th, 2017, at page 8. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I would like this honorable House to sit down, reflect, and investigate this issue. Otherwise, this will definitely undermine the powers that we have as legislators, as contained in Section 4, Section 59, Section 80 to 82 of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And also, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the Constitution has given the National Assembly, under Section 60 of the Constitution, to draw its rules and procedures. So, if you look at Order 19, Order 12, Rule 19 to 1 to 20, it spelled out the procedure of how a money bill is passed. So for somebody to come out and say that this particular House has no right to modify or alter, or rather it has introduced some other projects, I think that has tantamount to at least suppressing our powers as legislators, as enshrined in the Constitution. And I think that is a breach of our privilege. Mr. Speaker, I so submit.
We've had cause to debate this matter, and I'm sure if we were to open this matter for debate, it will have some kind of impact on a very important business of the day, which is the PIB. And that is one important legislation that we want to really do justice to. Now, I've heard the concerns of Honorable Lawal Abubakar, and I think they are quite germane. From the very pedestrian interpretation of the functions of the three departments of government, one makes law, the other executes the law, the other interprets the law. So a declaration as to which of the arms has what powers and rights belongs, in as much as it relates to the interpretation of the law, is the function of the judiciary and not of the executive. I don't even want to believe that the vice president made those statements, the acting president made those statements. I don't want to believe that. sincerely speaking. Because when it comes to the issue of the budget, I think we better say this thing and make it very clear so that our people will understand. When it comes to the budget, the power of the purse in the presidential system of government rests in the parliament. And the reason why the constitutional designers made it that way was because the executive is just one man. It's just the president. Every other person in the executive is acting on behalf of the president. So the relationship between the president and every other person there is that of a servant and a master. It is only in parliament, who are the first representatives of the people, that there's equality. And you can say your mind on any issue. You can bring matters of priority the way you like. The only way you can be cautioned is when you go outside the rules of debate. But in the executive, it's not the case. Of recent, especially in this part of the world, people exercising executive functions on behalf of the president are known to be like experts in emotional intelligence. Even when the president hasn't said anything, everybody is trying to understand what the body language is so that he can tailor his argument to suit the body language of the president. Otherwise, that may earn you a sack. So the design of the entire architecture of presidential democracy is that it should run on the basis of consensus and cooperation between the parliament and the executive. And where there's disagreement between the executive and the parliament, the framers of the constitution were smart enough to say, look, our hope is in the representative of the people, not executive. So the parliament can even go alone. In the case of the budget, for instance, if it were the case that parliament disagrees with the executive on the budget, the worst that the executive can do is to say, okay, we cannot sign. And after 30 days, if we can muster two-thirds, and it doesn't even have to be two-thirds of the entire membership, it's two-thirds once the quorum is formed, two-thirds of members sitting and voting, we can override the veto of the president and pass it into law. Now, the only course of option open to the executive to say, oh, because we didn't assent to this is the budget of parliament, we will not implement. But the point is that all of them, including us, we are under an oath to faithfully execute the laws of this land. Then the question that will fall for determination is that, is this a law of the land? And the answer is yes. Then any man of honor who is occupying either legislative or executive honor office is bound by his oath to faithfully execute that law. And in the case of the executive, if it is not done, all of us know the very consequences. I don't want to call it by its name. We know the consequences. So in this kind of contest, the winner is obvious. So I don't think we should bother ourselves belaboring this issue at all. We all know where these powers are. And under our watch, there's no way this House will be a rubber stamp of any executive measures. Budgets are priorities. When they come, they are priorities of the government. They may not be national priorities because we are representative of the people, and we can say, okay, even though these issues are priorities of your government, based on our job of representation, they are not priorities of the people. And we can refuse to fund them. In the US, where we borrowed our constitution from, the moment the president steps into this hall with the budget, is pronounced dead on arrival. It is what comes out of parliament that is alive. So this kind of discussion really is not helpful. It's not helpful. And we shouldn't belabor this issue at all. So, Honorable Lawal, thank you for bringing this matter, but I think we shouldn't even take a debate on this. So we proceed. to the first order of the day, which is the third reading of a bill for an act to amend the Public Procurement Act 2007 by adding a new member to the Council